Yo, what's up out there in YouTube land? This is Vaughn, and this is my man, the new Avenger, Elton.
Low.
Hey, got
There it is.
Well, it took a little bit longer for me to get it started because apparently, you to live stream to X now, you have to have it's like another tier or something.
What?
Oh, I guess it's a new thing.
Really?
Like, yeah. All right. Okay, I got to figure that out, but I guess everybody need to make money. I guess.
Sounds like it.
Oh, man. All right. So we're gonna get it started. I don't know how long this is gonna go. Probably about like maybe an hour, maybe less. So we're going to talk about two things really. Both kind of have something to do with Game of Thrones. One is a review of House of Dragon, and the other one is some interesting comments that George R. Martin made. All right. So let's get into the first thing. All right. Well, we're gonna let's give out your first impression of the episode before we get into any spoilers.
Schemes upon schemes.
Yeah. So this was more less actiony, more setting up different things. So I think I will probably give it like an 8.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're really trying hard to get their bannerman.
Well, that's kind of how it works. So let's get into the spoiler talk. There we go. It'll pop up there.
Nice. I see it.
All right. The episode starts. If I am, I'm trying to remember. See, this is what happens when you get old, kids. Like, so the episode starts. Is it when they're in Westeros? Is when it starts? Because I think that's when the beginning of the episode is. They're marching into Westeros. Cole is in the front, and they're dragging around that gigantic dragon head.
Yes.
Much
That's
to
Maylis.
Yes. But prior to that, you got to see this state that the small folk are in Westeros. They have nothing. They have fruit that's all jacked up, and bread is everything is moldy and dying because they have been cut off.
Meat. We need meat.
It is like if their state of food is this way, is like how they are with water. That's one of the things that that's the most important. You can kind of get away with not eating as much as you should, but you need water. So
Good point.
But a lot of these shows don't really get into that particular thing. That's a little too much. But from what they showed, everything is in bad state. So when they're marching through the streets, they're not getting the reception that Cole and the rest of them probably felt that they should be getting.
Right.
Just kind of stand there staring. It's like, bro.
Do you know why Shelvan, and they kind of stressed on it too, or emphasized it, why the people at King's Landing, why they kept saying it was like a bad omen? Does that have to do with some like history thing in the past episodes or something that they explained before? Because they kept
No,
saying it's like a bad omen, it's a bad omen, or
well, this is probably all this probably just a superstitious like I know a little bit about the House of Dragon stuff, but I'm not what you would say as an expert. So one would think is peasants tend to be a bit superstitious.
Oh, okay.
Right?
True.
So it's like I don't know. It'd be weird, I guess. So they would all right. She did stomp through them when she left, so they shouldn't be feeling kind of happy about her. And I was looking at somebody who was talking about this, and they were saying that the scene probably would have played out better if she hadn't marched through them and stepped on a bunch of people and threatened the king and the future king and all that before she left. that would probably give people like more, I don't know, make them more upset or happy or whatever emotion it was trying to do. My thing is that we're starving. I don't really give a shit what you're doing if it doesn't involve food coming into the city.
Right. Yeah.
Right. So it's like, and just like how the Hightower son, the what's so Allison's brother, was like, it was like looking at him and like, dude, why are you like, why are we doing
Why are we
this?
doing this? Yeah.
Yeah, it's just like, well, but it's a victory. It's like, what are you talking about?
I
Like,
think they were trying to, like, inspire, pride in what they accomplished, but as you said, they didn't really care.
no, dude, we ain't got no food. I'm like, and what
Yeah.
reminds me of how you can see reality or the real life in fiction. It's like it's the same kind of thing. It's just like people get on television and talk this, that, and the other. It's like, bro, I just spent such and such amount of money on food. It's like, what are you on? It's like, what are you talking about?
Yeah, right, exactly.
Especially given what happened recently. So that kind of popped into my head. It's like, hey, we hail the conquering heroes. And I was like, man, screw you.
Where's
So
my
they head towards the castle, and the head goes in one direction, and a little casket or a little box that is covered with a bunch of stuff goes into another direction. And you can pretty much guess what that is, and find out fairly quickly that it is see, I got a little,
Aegon?
yeah, I got a cliff notes over here because I can't remember people's names for shit. So
Aegon, yeah.
King Aegon is all he looks way burnt than he did in the end of last episode. So
Yeah.
like the Meisters are working on him. They have to peel his armor off because it was burnt to his body. At that point, he should be in so much pain. I don't know how the pain didn't kill him. And then they set his bones. So first thing that popped to my head was like, well, how long it took him to get back to the castle? It's
Good
like
point.
nobody set the man.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was like I can see. This is one of those things where it's like a little nitpick though, where you can probably just go, like we reset his bones and all that stuff, but one of them came loose, so we had to reset it or something like that. So, but that's like a nitpick. Overall, like I said, the episode is fairly good. So, she asked the Meister, Allison asked the Meister how he's doing. The guy's like, like, I don't know how to answer this. Like, you can see for yourself, he's burnt to hell, legs broken, all that good stuff. She's looking at him in the back of her head. She gotta be like, I did this. It's like, oh, and I skipped over the look that she gave her other son when they were standing on the balcony, Aemon, when he first got there with the casket. And she's looking over and he's staring, and she knows that he has the king's dagger.
Yeah.
Yeah. So she's like, this dude. Kind of, that's the look like she gave him. And it's like she's there, he's there, they're looking over. And like later on in the episode, when she's talking to Cole about what happened, and she drops the what's that? But you hear on TV a lot, like somebody raised some criminal, and they can't and they act like I don't know how he's in charge now, and said how he is. Like you said that like you had nothing to do with that. Like, your daughter's screwed up in the head. Your one son is a drunken lush who really should not have been king of anything, and the other one is a psychopath.
Exactly. Family, perfect
Right.
family.
Right. So what made what happened in the was it the council room interesting because it was contrasted what was going on with Rhaenyra at the time. And she was having a meeting with Rhaenyra is having a meeting with her council, and while they were more respectful, but they kind of treated her like kind of the same in a way. It was not exactly the same, but the results were the same, where she was kind of being ignored. Like she was being ignored for her like not for her input, but it's kind of like how she would say stuff and it would kind of like, okay, kind of thing. And so when you got to Allison in the thing and they were trying to figure out, well, who's going to be in charge, so like when they got to the council and Allison was trying to see who was going to be in charge, then the council kind of, she was kind of implying that she should be in charge because she was the queen, like the mother. And then some of the council was like, well, yeah, and this, and then the other one was like, well, no. And then it was like, oh, you can chime in too, man, because I'm trying to remember
okay.
like what I just watched.
Yeah, basically they kind of ignored her pleas, or not her pleas, but her desire
Mm-hmm.
to be a
Yeah.
queen, and then
Mm-hmm.
basically they just said like, oh yeah, well, it should be Aemon because that's the way succession works. So,
Yeah.
and
So
they also seemed afraid of having
the
like
final thing came down to,
a woman queen too.
well, yeah. Well, yeah, it's given the time period. Yeah, I can see
Yeah.
that. And that is what is brought up at um uh, Rhaenyra's council meeting too. It's the same kind of thing. It's like we were at war, and making war on people is not the thing that women are, the fairer sex is known for. So even though she pointed out that, well, I forgot what the guy's name was, that, but you haven't been to war either because we basically been at peace. It's like, yeah, okay, but and you discover this throughout the episode is, and she mentions it later, is like, I was not trained to be like
To be
for
in
this.
battle. Yeah.
Right. She was trained for peace because her dad was at peace, his dad was
Right.
at peace. So that's how he raised her. And she's like, well, if I was a son, then I would have been brought up
With a
like,
sword in my hand.
in which they did to all the males in their family.
Yeah.
All of them. Both sons on both sides, they were taught how to fight. The daughters were just stand over there and be nice and be pretty in your dress.
Serve wine, yeah.
Yeah, and like the fact that she admitted that later, but it was later. But all right. So I'm jumping around because, like, dude, it really did not stick in my head. But Damon at the same time is going around trying to recruit folks in the Riverdale.
No, not Riverdale.
Rivervale. What the hell, man? Like, start thinking about Archie.
Riverlands.
Yeah, I do. But all right. So like, I sound like such the expert on this. So he's sitting on his dragon. He's trying to get one side, like he got the blacks on one side, and then he got like what's the name of the guys on the that they were talking to? I can't recall.
What guys they were talking to?
It was so he had one dude that was on his side, and then they were talking about they're basically mortal enemies on the other side.
Oh yeah, that's the Brackens,
Okay.
and then the Blackwoods, I think.
Right. So the Blackwoods. So he's like, well, like if you don't do what I say, I'm gonna burn your crap down, blah blah blah. And the guy looking at him is like, all right, do what you gotta do, bro. And then he turns around and marches off on his horse right in front of his dragon's mouth. So I was like, oh crap. He's like, he's gonna burn this dude up. And the next scene is Damon trying to figure out, all right, so what the hell do we do now? It's like, I told you they were pig-headed. I'm like, well, yeah, that's the kind of men I need, though, because they'll fight to the death for whatever they believe in. So he's like, all right, well, so the guy was telling me, like, I've been fighting with them for a long time. And like, well, yeah, but that hasn't gotten you anywhere. Said, now, what I thought he was telling him to figure out another way to basically find out what his weaknesses are and exploit them. So that's the impression that I got that Damon was asking him. That's not what dude did, and you don't find that out until the end of the
Till later.
episode
Yeah.
and the repercussions for doing it. But it was kind of a wink, wink thing, and I'm like, bro, this is the second time you've done this, where you've told someone to do something, but you left it kind of open on the back end, and they took liberties and caused a bunch of issues because you weren't straight up like with them. And he's like, and then he told him that the crown can't be involved in this, which dude basically ignored too, which
Yeah.
led to
Right.
the end result of the episode. So it just struck me as I'm watching this is that everything that's happening is a series of mess ups, is miscommunications. I didn't like person not understanding that, taking something out of context, all the other stuff which is probably happens a lot in various wars. So I was
Right.
like, yeah. So I'm like, dude, this is pretty interesting because nobody is in the right at this point. So everything is going crap for everybody. It's going crap for the Greens. It's going crap for the Blacks. It's like, yeah, we got all these dragons, but it's like we can't really do anything with them, and we just lost our biggest dragon. Hence the discussion they had at Rhaenyra's council meeting and how she got upset. So when Allison is talking to Cole, trying to figure out what happened, you got to give Cole credit, dude. He didn't rat his boy out.
He did it. Yeah.
No, he's like, hey, dude, shit happened. It's like, was this
Yeah.
your idea? Like, he's
like,
your
yeah.
son. It's
Yeah,
like,
he's your son.
He's your son. So, like, yeah. So they have a better conversation a little bit later, but is she really needs her dad, right? To come handle these dudes, but like nobody will listen to him either. But I think he could probably, she's over her head.
Mm-hmm.
And she has realized, like, she knows for a fact that she's over her head and she's the cause for all this death and whatever. I don't know how she can get herself out of this, but I don't know. So this was like I said, this was a episode where they're setting all the pieces in place for the next thing. So is you once Aemon is in charge, he cuts down the rat catchers, and then they lock everybody inside of the castle. Because,
catching or freeing the rat catchers, I know that's something that he wanted to do like a while ago. So
yeah, because it was stupid.
yeah,
he told his
now
brother
that he's
that it
King
was stupid.
Regent, yeah, because I think he's really trying to win favor over the people in King's Landing.
I think he's smart enough to know that you shouldn't piss off the people who are
exactly
right. It's kind of
control.
dumb, right? Yeah. It's like the only reason you control them is because they fear you, and if you get to the point where they don't fear you, hence starving them. So
right. He's a bit more level-headed in that sense, like he knows what the people, or he knows how to inspire people on his side.
Right, because he's more of a military guy, and he's thinking like a military guy.
Exactly.
So you like one of the characters that you listen to is Hugh, I think, and his wife is saying, "It's like, bro, we need to get up out of here, man, because everything is going to crap." And he's like, "Well, the king promised, this, that, and the other."
Oh, that's the one with the sick daughter, Sylvan?
Yeah.
Oh, okay,
yeah. Yeah, so she's like, "Look, you can wait on the king. I'm about to be out of here with our kid." So yeah, this is going to crap, and that's who you get to see as they're fleeing, and everybody seemed to have come to the same conclusion at the same damn time. We got to get up out of here. Right. So the guards are like, no, y'all can't get out of here. So they lock them all in. So it's like, on one hand, you cut down the rat catchers to, I don't know, maybe to wait favor, maybe to prevent disease. Don't know. But you then lock everybody inside the city, which is not going to endure you to the populace.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to like that much.
No. So at this point, we go to Carolus, who is dealing with the death of his wife. So he's understandably sad. So he's walking to his throne. He's trying to figure out, he don't lost a lot of crap. And when he's having a conversation with his granddaughter, he emphasizes that it's like this castle is like a ghost town. It's empty because he lost his grandson, lost his wife, lost his son, lost his daughter.
Yeah.
The only family he has left are the two granddaughters and a possible son.
Oh, yeah, right.
That we're the son
that he has not appeared in.
Yeah,
he did appear in the episode, huh?
Not this episode. Well, I don't know.
He did.
He did. All right. Well, his son, who seems to be very uncomfortable around him, so I'm thinking that he knows who he is, and so everybody's trying to. It's like before, where like everybody got secrets, just like the fact that they snuck the body in. But you don't think ain't nobody gonna tell people that?
There's a giant box here.
Yeah, and you don't think one of them handmaids in the back wouldn't whisper it to somebody else, who wouldn't say it to somebody else, who wouldn't say it to somebody else, and eventually it gets out. Yeah, the king jacked up, so that's probably why they had to all right, we can't pretend this because he has to make an appearance at some point. So I guess Carolus is Carlos. Oh yeah, these names is
Carlos.
Right. So his granddaughter, which one is she? Is she Bilal or Rihanna? Rihanna is the one that went over to that spot with Raina's children and the eggs. She gets into a discussion with the lady of the. That's Bela?
Bela, sure? I think that one.
Because I think Bela is the one who's actually had.
No, I think Bela is the older one.
I don't know.
And then Reina is
right. So she's the one with the dragon, and the other one is the one.
Yeah, the older one is the one with the dragon.
So she's having it. Yeah. So she's having a discussion with the lady of the particular place that they're holed up at, and she's upset because I asked, this place is impenetrable except to everything except for dragons. And I asked for dragons, and she's like, "Well, we gave you 2." She's like, "You gave me 2 eggs that just hatched." So I'm like, what am I supposed to do with this?
Here.
So she was like, "Look, don't
Merry Christmas."
Right? Don't say that like this. It's like I'm a little upset by this, and you trying to be all flippant. I'm like, I'll bounce your ass up out of here. That's basically what she told the lady. It's like, and get yourself dressed to come to dinner.
Yeah.
So yeah, so Bela had a conversation with Rhaenyra's son Jack, because he's upset because just like they're treating him like, well, I mean, basically he's the heir, so they're concerned just as much as they're concerned about his mother dying, they're as concerned about him, but he wants to go do something. So they have a discussion, and he decides to go talk to someone about something of strategic importance. The Tully. Who did he go to? The Tully.
The Tully.
Right,
yeah.
Right. So he goes to go talk to them, and as he's discussing stuff with them, they go back and forth, and they ask for the castle that Daemon is in right now. Now, the issue with Daemon is he's tripping. He's seeing visions. He's having virtual sex with someone, and I didn't know who it was. So, like, one of the people that I watched who gave me some insight, that was his mother.
Oh, right. Yeah. I remember that scene.
Right. So that when he talked to the witch lady,
dream at all.
Right. So, but given the how Targaryens operate, it's like it's
not unheard of. That's why that lady said, "Oh, you're my favorite," or "You're my favorite son." Yeah, that was his mom.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So when he's chopping wood later, and I guess they're renovating the castle in preparation for the army that he's not really gathering, but So he has a talk with the witch lady. Now, I am of two minds with the witch lady. I don't know if she's real or not because no one else is saying anything to her. So he's been seeing. He saw his mother. He saw his wife, his dead wife, and he's having a conversation with this lady who's basically telling him that the decision that you're making is not good because it's not good for the small folk, and at the same time he basically is deciding that he wants to be king. So it's like they keep calling him your grace. It's like, no, call me king. So the guys, so the strong guy is like, you're not the king. He said, well, I'm married to the queen. So what does that make me? And he goes like, the king consort. So why? So why even say the back part then? Just say the front part. Like, what the hell is this dude up? Like, so he is yeah. So he's having all these dreams. So he's having a conversation with her, and she's like, dude, you have made these decisions that are causing a bunch of stuff that are affecting the small folk. And every time lords get into issues, it affects the small folk. And they don't really care about them. And she's trying to give him like a warning. It's like, dude, you need to check yourself a little bit there, man, before you do something that causes issues. And that's another thing
that comes into play later in the episode. All those warnings. Yep.
Right. So it reminds me of most of the stuff that we out in the real world have to deal with is decisions made by other people that causes problems that they don't think about. So you make this decision and then a bunch of other stuff happens and then you're sitting around, I didn't mean that to happen. I'm like, it doesn't matter what you meant. This is what happened.
This is what happened.
So
yeah.
It's like,
true.
Right. And that particular type of time period, just like every king or noble person and you saw that with like Shogun and a bunch of other stuff. It's the same stuff. They don't even think about the poor people. It's like you're just there because I need people to do this, that, and the other. And other than that, I don't really give a shit.
Right.
So that way of thinking is probably going to bite both. Yeah, it's going to bite both camps in the ass. As you can see, because Rhaenyra decided to talk to the whisperer chick, and her name is, like I said, I'm looking up names, so I don't sound too crazy. Mysa or
Mysaria.
Right. And she's complaining to her about the fact that the council not listening to her, and that's when she goes into like she realized why they're not doing it, whatever. So she tells her, it's like, all right, well, there's a lot of unrest going on in King's Landing, and there's something we can probably, all we gotta do is poke and push and prod a little bit. We can cause issues because there's more than one way to fight.
I like when she said that. It's like, oh yeah, get the people while they're, I guess, like vulnerable.
They're already upset.
Over to your side, yeah.
Yeah. So both sides are making these silly choices that are affecting the small folk on both sides of the aisle. We don't know for a fact what's going to happen with the green side, but by the end of the episode, we discover what's going to happen with the black side. Because the person that he put to go, like he like I said, he was probably telling them to figure out a way to come to an agreement with these other groups. With the other group, the other guy decided I'm just going to use your banner to go do atrocities and kill babies and children and whatnot. It's like, dude, what Damon should have realized is that these folks are at the point where it doesn't matter who started whatever their issue is. It really doesn't matter because both sides have done such bad things to each other. There is no ending until one side is dead. And even then, it probably still will. So yeah, you can't get these, like, at best you can put them on two different complete sides of your army, but it's foolish for you to try to get one to convince the other ones to fight for you.
Exactly.
Hence
and then And then you know that lady, the one that keeps appearing in Damon's visions,
Mm-hmm.
Alice or whatever her name is.
Mm-hmm.
You know, all those warnings that she was saying. It's like, well, it finally came to bite him in the ass. So
Yeah, yeah. So the folks at the valley showed up. It's like, bro, man, it's like you want us to fight your battles, and you out here okaying this dude doing all this crazy stuff. It's
yep.
like we ain't never fighting. No, we ain't fighting for you. It's like we'll sit this out or like whatever we gotta do, but nah, because you a baby killer. He's like, well, I didn't mean for that thing. So the folks is like, don't care what you meant, whatever. This is what happened, and you're continually doing it because you continue to make the same mistakes.
And that's a big turning point because those are the people from the Riverlands, and you know they
Mm-hmm.
kept saying they said it a bunch of times actually, like in the previews too, like oh, you know the Riverlands is the key to this war, and Harrenhal is the key to the Riverlands.
Yeah,
So losing allegiance like that,
yeah.
it's a big loss.
Right. So, and he did it because he didn't think about the small folk, as I
Exactly.
keep saying.
I don't
So,
know if that's the whole Riverlands though, or if it's just like a small faction of it that they, you know, that they called him a tyrant and they didn't want to pledge their allegiance to him.
well, I mean, it's if they are, they seem to be to give me the impression that they're like the farmers or like the like you would think it's like southerner kind of like vibe to it. Like if I was to make a nowadays comparison, it's like those folks, you piss off one group, the other ones are looking at you like, well, if you do this to them, eventually you're gonna do this to us. So
Mm-hmm.
it's probably like, yeah, it's you can alienate a little bit of them, but eventually that will turn into the other ones. And given the fact that what's actually happening over there in terms of how the grains are conquering things, so I don't know. I would think that all the people should just band together and tell them all to f off. Seriously. So Rhaenyra decides to send one of her council members to the castle because she's realized that I cannot trust Damon.
Damon. Yeah.
So I
Yet
need
again.
some. Well, it's like, yeah, she probably never really trusted him, but it's like,
Yeah, this time it really was
yeah,
bad.
it's like bro, it's, it's like I haven't heard anything from you. I keep contacting, like sending Ravens down to talk to you, and you ain't sending nothing back. So it's like, so he sends dude to go. So I don't know how that's going to work out. So that should be interesting. When the situation with Mesa,
Nysaria.
Masaria. See, dude, I'm bad with names. Masaria, she sent an envoy to go into the city. They talked to a guard who they're familiar with. They go inside. They talk to a person at one of the whorehouses. So who knows where that's going to lead? I thought because they emphasized Hugh that maybe that's who he was going to talk to. But I think maybe he is going
Mm-hmm.
to, he's going to have something to do with whatever happens. So
I
don't.
wonder what they sent her to spy on though. Like,
Mm,
was it just like gathering intel what's going on there, or does she have like a more nefarious plan for her? Why they sent her out?
um, I think. Well, she knew enough, so she had contacts, so she knows enough from the
Oh,
outside.
okay.
I
Yeah.
think this is more of a stir the pot kind of thing.
Yeah.
So yeah. So uh, all right. So I think we get to the towards the end. So the group came in, told Damon to piss off.
Yeah, pretty much.
And then Jack is talking to his mom. They're having a discussion about how they feel about things and like how to where they both have their heads at. So it's just the difference between Rhaenyra's kids and Allison's kids. It's like it's night and day.
Yeah, huh?
One is respectful, actually
Right.
contributing to and his reasoning for going to do what he did was it's like I want to contribute and I have an idea how to do it. He came up with a plan, executed his plan, got what she needed. She even told him that she couldn't. She was probably a little upset that he left, but she was like happy that he actually succeeded in his mission. So as they're having a conversation, he reminds her that they're all like, she says that we need more dragons. So he's like, we got enough dragons. We got dragons out coming out our ass. So we don't have,
literally the eggs are coming out.
Right. He said, well, we don't have a
writers. Yeah.
So she's like, well, yeah, because they will only let dragon lords ride them. So then it's like, we both
Pretty
know
Targaryens.
Right. So he's looking like, well, we both know who my dad actually is. So I'm half Targaryen. And my little brother was half Targaryen. Both of us had dragons. The dragons had no problem with us flying around on them. We know that Targaryens like to get around and stoop everything in sight.
Okay. Yeah.
So they are more people like me, probably all over the damn place. She was like, so maybe we can find someone in the bloodline who is part of the groups that want us to protect them. So if we can get one of their family members and whatnot who is a bastard and a Targaryen bastard,
and
dragon,
ride a dragon. Yeah,
they can protect their own damn shit, and they'll be very grateful for us. So she's looking up at the records, and like this is when it like cuts off, and I'm like, I don't think this is a good idea, because one of the parts of the conversation between Cole and Alicent was how messed up the fight got as soon as the dragons got involved.
And now they're gonna throw in more dragons into the fight.
Right. You just giving it like napalm everybody. So they didn't really care. Everybody there. I saw people melting, people walking around on fire. It's like they didn't care.
I could see their intentions for that though, because if it seems like they're having such a hard time getting people to join on their side, it's like, oh well, if you want, you can join our side. We have dragons for you. So regardless if they're really Targaryens or not, as long as they can ride a dragon, I guess they can promise that in exchange.
Bro, but that seems to be the case for every decision in this damn show.
Yeah.
It is. They
want throw a dragon on it.
Well, not just a dragon. It's like they make decisions based off of how they think things should go, and then when things go left. And one of the interesting things between the conversation between Cole and Alicent later was, this is about to get bad. Do you want to be involved in this? So he's actually looking out after her.
Out for her, yeah.
It's like, bro, it's like, this is going to get bad. We already got people dying, getting burnt up, and I've already seen what happened. Like, when you get dragons involved.
You got a little PTSD from that fight.
You think? And he watched his now King Regent basically attack and kill his brother. Right.
Yeah.
And it's like,
that's a lot to take in. Yeah, you could tell he's affected by it.
Like, man. And this about to get crazy.
Was kind of nice though. Like, he kind of had the wherewithal to say that to her, because I know she wanted it.
Yeah.
Like, I know she wants the crown, but as you said, when he said those words to her, it's like, oh, he is looking out for her in a way.
Yeah. Heavy is the head that wears the crown.
There you go. And that's right.
All right, so the episode is basically it in a nutshell. We've missed a couple of parts here and there, but for the most part, it was a nice episode that set up for the next, laying the groundwork for the next 3. Now, we have 3 more left.
8? Oh, it's 8 episodes, not 10.
Yep, 8.
Oh, okay.
So that is kind of why it's building up a little bit. Unlike the Acolyte, where you have no idea what's gonna. I have no idea what the hell's gonna happen on the Acolyte Tuesday, because it's the final episode and they ain't do any of this particular thing. The difference between those 2 shows is amazing, right? Right?
They just do things like, oh my gosh, I've been watching like some of the YouTubers talk about it.
Bro, you have to set up stuff. You have to have an episode where you set up things, where you put your pieces in place in order for something else to happen. You don't just have people pop in and pop out and all this other crap. That's not how it works. It's like that. Just good storytelling. Yes, the episode can be a little boring because there's not as much action as the previous one. But you know the state of everything. You know that the populace is pissed off at them in King's Landing and in the Riverland. Both of them have the same actual problem. Both of them, the women, have the exact same problem, is they both feel like they're not being listened to.
Mm-hmm.
Except that one of the women knows that she started all this shit, so I have very little sympathy for her.
Allison.
Right. Okay. So this has the next thing that we're gonna talk about for like the next few minutes or whatever is tied to it, to the Game of Thrones. But this is an interesting thing that the creator of Game of Thrones said, and I want to get your opinion on it. All right, you see that? Okay. All right, Game of Thrones creator George R.R. Martin warns creators ignore canon and the world you created comes apart like tissue paper. Game of Thrones creator issued a scathing warning to Hollywood creators and others that if they ignore canon, their world and the worlds they are adapting will fall apart.
I would agree.
Yeah, in a new blog post, Martin discussed the dragons in Game of Thrones and compared and contrasted them to the various other dragons such as J.R.R. Tolkien's Smaug and I'm not even trying to say that. In Dragon Slayer, as well as Toothless and How to Train Your Dragon among others. After dealing with how adaptations of a series got the Targaryen heraldry wrong by including dragons with 4 limbs rather than 2, Barnes fantasy needs to be grounded. It is not simply a license to do anything you like. Smaug and Toothless may both be dragons, but they should never be confused. Ignore canon and the world you've created. It comes apart like tissue paper, which is true. All right. And this is the issue that we're having with Star Wars, is that they have ignored. They have
ignored all source material.
Right. Because they decided that they can just take it like the outline of what Star Wars is and plug in their characters and it will still work. It's like, no, things work the same for a reason. And because you don't get people who don't understand that, you wind up with things like at the end of the last episode of The Acolyte, where Saul is standing there and instead of just lifting the 2 little girls off of the bridge, they went for what they thought was a cooler shot of him holding up the bridge, 2 bridges. So everybody looked at that. I'm like, dude, that's stupid. So you trying to hold up tons of metal instead of 2 60-pound girls. That doesn't make any sense. Again, it's just not understanding like the source material and not caring. These comments come about a month after Martin bashed Hollywood screenwriters and producers for believing they can improve on the source material of standout authors such as Ian Fleming, Stan Lee, J.R.R. Tolkien, and others when they attempt to adapt their stories to film or television. Here. Like everywhere you look, there are more screenwriters and producers eager to take great stories and make them their own. It does not seem to matter whether the source material was written by Stan Lee, Charles Dickens, Ian Fleming, Roald Dahl, Ursula K. Le Guin. Ursula K. I'm not even trying to say that.
Mark Twain, I guess.
Yeah. Mark Raymond Chandler, Jane Austen, or anyone, no matter how major the writer is, no matter how great the book, there always seems to be someone on hand who thinks he can do better. He could take the story and improve on it. I can't disagree with that. Because
you think you can improve on things?
No.
As long as you stay like respectful of the source material.
Whenever you're making something, whereas a book or whatever, the thing about like Revenge of the Sith, if you read the novel versions of them, you get more insight to why Anakin made the decisions that he made, which you don't get in the movie.
Okay.
Yeah. So there are certain things. There's a way that you write a screenplay as versus the way that you write a novel. In a novel, you can get inner thoughts and this person's inner thoughts and why the decision, and you can really go in to give you a full representation of the person. What you can do in a movie, but you do it differently. Like in a book, you can tell because that's all you can do in a book is tell. You tell everything. You tell this, and you set up the scene. You set up this. You telling everything. In a movie, it is visual, so you have to show.
Show, yeah.
Right. So, like, an example of I went to go when was it The Dark Knight, right? So I went to go see The Dark Knight with a friend of mine back when it came out, and he was upset because Claude, what's her name? Al Ghul, his daughter. I can't remember her name. The way that she dies at the end. So she's a trained assassin. So she should have fought. So in his mind, he said that she should have fought Bruce at the end. And I'm like, bro, they never set that up at all in this movie. So you're working off the assumption that because you know that she's a trained Talia al Ghul, right? Because you know that she's a trained assassin, that other people know that. They don't know that. So in order for this to happen, you have to show at the beginning of the movie, and it'll have been kind of simple when they were exchanging scars. She could have told him that, yeah, like I dabble in kung fu. I mean, I dabble in this particular thing, and I do all this other stuff to hide to give the audience an indication of she knows a little bit about that. Then you would show her doing something that would show people that she knows, like that she can handle the physicality of it. But you have to show them. If you don't ever do that, like then like if you never do that, then people will be confused. It's like with the metal in the Acolyte when he's shutting down the lightsabers and all that stuff and headbutting the lightsabers and blocking with his wrist and all that stuff, right? If you're familiar with that element, then you know it's like, okay, you know what that is. Most people, 90% of the people who watched that show had no idea what the hell was happening. So it leads to confusion. It's because, again, you can explain it while it's happening in a book. All right. So the book is the book, the film is the film, they will tell you. As if they're saying something profound, then they make their own the story their own. They never make it better, though. 999 times out of 1,000, they make it worse. However, did note that sometimes they do get it right, and he praises FX recent Shogun adaptation. Once in a while, though, we really get good adaptations and of a really good book, and when that happens, it deserves applause. Sorry, I came across instances recently with Shogun. I think the author would have been pleased. Both old and new screenwriters did honor to the source material and gave us terrific adaptations, resisting the impulse to make it their own.
Dang, preach it, brother.
Well, it's like, I mean, it's the truth. Part of the reason why Shogun worked so much is because the person who, and it's the same thing with One Piece, and it's the same thing with a bunch of other ones that work, is the person who had overall control of it understood the source material. But Shogun, you had an actual Japanese person who understood how Japanese culture works.
Yeah.
So and is has an interest in history, right? So it's the same thing with One Piece. The person who created One Piece had total control over that show. Yeah, everything. So if they did something that he didn't like, he's like, reshoot that. That don't make any sense.
That even happened with the Super Mario Brothers movie, right?
Right.
That movie could have went really south, like really fast, because those are, licensed characters, and then if you have the freedom to do whatever you want, and that could have gone in a really poor direction.
Apparently, that scene where she is calling, like when she dismisses Mario, that is a leftover from the original screenplay.
Oh.
So it's like they already were. So yeah. So like Nintendo was like, no, you're not doing that. No, you are not putting. No, this is about Mario and Luigi and Princess Peach. This is not about Princess Peach. If you want to make a Princess Peach movie, make a Princess Peach movie. This is the Mario Brothers. This is about the two brothers.
Yep.
They're not incompetent. You're not doing the normal thing that you have done with every other stupid thing where, because you cannot write a strong female character, what you do is you make the male characters stupid.
Exactly.
And
I think that's the problem with the Acolyte. I mean, to no one's surprise, right? Yeah, it feels like it's not even Star Wars. It's like they just have, like, these people, like random characters with like random problems,
Mm-hmm.
and then they just put the Star Wars name to it.
Right. It's because
Yeah, it has
she.
like it has very little to do with Star Wars, even though there's there's Jedi's in there, but they have changed like what a Jedi is and what they
Mhm.
stand for.
Yes.
Oh man,
It is because the showrunner went out of her way to hire people who knew nothing about Star Wars, and she
yeah,
doesn't know anything about Star Wars herself.
herself exactly.
And this has been a problem with a lot of Disney products lately, where it's like, all right, so the Wanda TV show, the reason why everyone was speculating that Mephisto was going to be involved because Mephisto was actually involved in the story that they were adapting. The person who was the screenwriter of it did not know that. So she was confused at why everybody was expecting something and it didn't happen and they were disappointed.
Oh,
She's like, I don't know why I did like, and it's like, dude, because that's this story that you're telling. The reason why it all happens is because of Mephisto. So but you have no idea who Mephisto was until people pointed it out, and they were looking forward to seeing like who this person was. Like maybe this person is Mephisto. Maybe like when her brother showed up, like maybe he's
oh,
Mephisto, and she was all confused, like who's Mephisto? But this just goes back to what he was saying.
I
It's
didn't know that
like,
happened.
yeah,
Oh,
yeah. So it's like they don't understand the source material, and you wind up with these terrible products. And just like it was something. Hopefully, we are done with the girl boss like crap. Because everything that's coming out was made 2 or 3 years ago when we was in full born girl boss mode, and now they have realized that people do not want. Because apparently, like that Furiosa movie, and I've said this before, supposedly was pretty good, but people didn't go see it because it's whoever cut the trailer made her into a girl boss, and apparently she's not a girl boss in the movie for the most part. And the part of the reason why people got upset at the end of Dune is because they made Zendaya's character kind of girl bossy when she was upset. I'm like, that's not how it happens in the book.
mm-hmm.
Like, so people see, this is what I never understand. Is like they make these things, they say piss on the people who are fans of the thing, and then they're shocked when the thing don't like, because everybody knows a fan of whatever it is. So everybody knows somebody who was like a fan of whatever, huge fan, and it's like, are you gonna go see blah blah blah? Like, nah. Like, why? Because it's done, and they go into this whole thing. So if they don't want to go see it, well, that's probably not gonna
I'm
be
not
good
gonna
then,
go. Yeah.
right? And then these people don't seem to understand that because they think that they, for some reason, they think that they can take these old stories that are a product of their time for the most part, like from the mentality of the person who wrote them, to modernize them. It's like, well, people are fans of the actual work that was made in the 80s, in the 50s, in the 60s, and whatever, right? It's like James Bond is a product of the 60s, but he acts like a product of the 60s. You modernize him and you make him into a whiny person who, bro, he's
Oh, they're
having
gonna hate that. Yeah.
right. He's like the whole like angry, like the last one. I just basically called him Angry Bond because he was angry all the damn time. He's angry about everything. Like, dude, like what the hell, man? And like, first you made him blonde. He's not blonde. Then you angry about this, angry about that, yelling. It's like I'm not interested in that. This is not James Bond. The last James Bond, as far as I am, Pierce Brosnan for me was the last James Bond. No, because you still had Q. They added Q later, but it's like you had Q. It was quirky. It was like, yeah, he's a 60s spy. Of course, it's a little corny. He's hitting on everybody.
A little eccentric.
Yeah, I mean, but that's what James Bond is. That's why if they ever get a chance to redo Back to the Future, oh my god.
Oof. I could see a lot of things going wrong with that.
Because it is an 80s movie full of 80s ideas about stuff, 80s attitudes, 80s songs. It just
Imagine if they remade that. Oof.
oh, dude, it'd be a bunch of modern mumble rap type stuff. He'd be a girl. He'd probably be a person of color. and then it'd be some probably throwing something like, well, you can't do the terrorist thing, so the terrorist thing will be gone. It'll probably be the police is the reason why he's being chased, or something. It'll come up with some ridiculous
Oh my
nonsense.
gosh. Stop
Dude,
there, Shelvan. You're giving them ideas.
Well, it's the truth. It'll be some crazy nonsense. So like leave these products of their time alone. So see if he says anything else. I think this article is pretty much almost done. So all right. Martin says similar comments back in 2022 alongside Neil Gaiman. The two spoke on the subject during an appearance in New York City Symphony Space. How faithful do you have to be? Some people don't feel that they have to be faithful at all. There is this phrase that goes around, I'm going to make it my own. I hate that phrase. I think Neil probably hates it too. Gaiman said, I do. I spent 30 years watching people make Sandman their own, and some of those people hadn't even read Sandman to make it their own. They just flipped through a few comics or something. Hard to tell. There are changes that you have to make, like I said, that you're called upon to make. I think they're legitimate. Yeah, you have to make it into a movie. Okay. Details Martin recalled The Last Defender of Camelot for Twilight Zone due to budget constraints, being forced to choose between having horses on an elaborate Stonehenge-esque set for the battle scene. Martin did not make the decision, so he left it up to oh man, what's with these names? Zelazny, who chose to cut the horses. To my mind, it's the kind of stuff you're called upon to do in Hollywood that is legitimate. He even noted that is why the Iron Throne is not depicted in the shows as written in the books, whereas the Iron Throne is not the Iron Throne is described in the books. It is not 15 foot high, made of 10,000 swords, because the ceiling of our soundstage was not 15 feet high. We couldn't fit it in there, and they were willing to give us St. Paul's. They weren't willing to give us St. Paul's Cathedral or Westminster Abbey to shoot our little show in. All right. Tolkien did tell that the story maker proves himself a successful sub-creator when he chooses to make a secondary world which your mind can enter inside it, and it is true and accords to the laws of that world. You therefore believe it while you are, as it were, inside. The moment disbelief arises and the spell is broken and the magic, or rather art, has failed, you are then out on the primary world again, looking at the little abortive secondary world from outside. If you're obliged by kindness or circumstance to stay, then disbelief must be suspended or stifled. Otherwise, listening and looking will become intolerable. But the suspension of belief is a substitute for the genuine feeling. A subterfuge we use when condescending to games or make believe, or when trying, or more or less willingly, to find a virtue we can in a work of art that has failed us.
That's another one that has been, I think, egregiously ignored. Lord of the Rings, or Power of the Rings?
Yeah, is it because you choose to, like, he has a theme for his thing that everything has been constructed around, and you choose to ignore that for various reasons, be it political or whatever it is.
Personal, yep.
Yeah, personal. It's like, but then, because then you eventually, like you said, you can't suspend belief because the one thing that everything is wrapped around is no longer there for whatever reason. So I don't know, but I think that is interesting.
I would agree with that article.
Yeah, I wonder if he came to that conclusion after season 8 of Game of Thrones.
Oh yeah, because after that season they didn't have any source material to work with, and oh boy, can you tell?
Yeah, because he essentially, what he did was he gave them an outline of what his story was going to be about, and they added their own stupid stuff, and they changed things because, like the thing with Arya and Jon Snow, everybody's looking forward to Jon Snow fighting like the Ice King dude. That didn't happen because they wanted Arya. They wanted to subvert your expectations.
Gosh, that takes me back. Subvert expectation.
Okay. Like, my thing is like, all right, subverting expectations means that you see something that looks like a chocolate cake. You're thinking about chocolate cake, And when you cut into it, it's a steak with chocolate icing on it. It's like, yeah, you subverted my expectations, but I was looking for a chocolate cake.
Still pleasant. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like it could be okay, I guess, but it's not what I wanted.
Yeah.
And depending on what you do, you wind up with something that can completely just destroys all the momentum of everybody who's involved with it. Dan and Dave,
Like when they killed Ned Stark,
mm-hmm.
and the Red Wedding, it's like that's really subverting your expectations.
Yes, because George R.R. Martin actually knows how to do that, and these two dudes don't. Which
I don't know, because in a way, like Arya killing the Ice King, I guess you didn't really expect that, but for some reason, it's just not something that you feel like is not right.
it is because you have been building up. Again, this is back what I said before. It's like if you take out the kernel of what everything else is wrapped around, it doesn't feel right. So because the source material you had is all about Jon Snow, and you building up to Jon Snow, and by you doing that, people are like, "What the hell was that?" And then you got that, and then you got all the plot armor everybody has on. you have the dude. You have the Dothraki riding off into the darkness. Against
in the literal darkness, those scenes were so dark.
Right, against ice zombies. Ice zombies don't need anything to see. The Dothraki do. So yeah, so you spent all this time gathering this army, and then you do the dumbest stuff left and right. You forget about the friggin' fact that they got a fleet and you're flying her dragons around. So all their
that was a mess.
Yeah, and then you have her sacrifice. So she loses her dragons in the stupidest ways. One, she's attacking like is she gets. I can give you. They underestimated the power of the Ice Guy, so that's why one of the dragons died. I get you that, but the other one, he's just flying around wide open in broad daylight, just flying over, and he get hit by a scorpion, and it kills him.
And instead of like feeling like your expectations were subverted, it just really feels like a cheap shot.
Yeah. It's just bad writing.
It's like, yeah, I guess you didn't expect that, but I don't know, it feels like it wasn't earned. And
no, Arya did not earn that kill.
No,
Jon Snow did.
Yeah.
And you would have got, but you did it for stupid political whatever the reasons for it was just stupid. All right. So this is at the end of this particular episode. Elton, what you about to get into, man?
Maybe sleep soon.
Yeah, I still haven't even eaten yet. I'm actually getting hungry. So
you should eat.
Yeah. So on the behalf of myself, Elton, this is the UN podcast. Please like, share, and subscribe and all that fun stuff. And me and my compadre are out.